Mark Sewards.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Can I say what a pleasure it is to follow the maiden speech from the Honourable Member for Dunstable and Leighton Buzzard. And I'd also like to congratulate the member for Glastonbury and Somerton for securing this debate. Public transport in Leeds South West and Morley is a lifeline for many of my constituents and me. I'm going to focus on bus travel today because it's the #1 transport issue that my constituents contact me about. I have plenty of content on the railway and the trams, but I'll leave that for another time. Now, without bus travel, many in more rural communities, like those in Ardsley, Robin Hood, Thorpe and Lofthouse in my constituency, simply would not have the means to travel to access essential services. It's a point that's been made by other members in this debate. In Farnley and Wortley, at the other side of my constituency, we're dependent on a small number of bus services to get us around, which leaves us far more exposed when those bus services fail. And in Morley, despite it being the largest population centre in my constituency, it is absolutely not immune to all of the problems we have come to associate with bus travel. In fact, I'm speaking as somebody who has relied heavily on the bus service in Cherwell and in Morley. The 51 and the 52 used to get me to school 20 years ago. I remember being frustrated even then at the service, and I swore that if I was ever in a position to do something about it, I would. So that's why I am very grateful to be able to contribute to this debate today, and also to be part of this Labour government. Now, we need a public transport system that we can rely on. We need to try something different because the status quo so obviously isn't working. If I can just turn back to Ardsley and Robin Hood, the council ward in my constituency, it has no town centre and it's in a very remote location, parts of it are at least, so buses are essential for residents to get around without a car. We don't have reliable routes into Leeds city centre either, and despite all of this, routes keep being cut and have been cut very recently by a private provider, and residents have been left isolated. This includes the 212 service that goes through East Ardsley into Tingley and then right through to Wakefield city centre. Now, fortunately, thanks to the work of the local councillors and the West Yorkshire Combined Authority, we have managed to find a new provider for that route in January. Obviously, that counts as a victory for local residents, but we can't just be reliant on sticking plaster solutions like this one. We can't just scramble around to find new private providers every time somebody cuts a bus route. And that is also not to say, by the way, that all private bus companies are bad, far from it. In my previous role as a councillor for Farnley and Wortley, I was very happy to work with First in Leeds to deal with antisocial behaviour on the number 42 route that went through my ward. I'm so grateful for their work and the work of the police because we managed to end those incidents of antisocial behaviour and restore that bus route. That company has always been willing to engage with me on issues around their bus routes, even if they weren't able to solve the problems. However, I don't want to be reliant on the hope that every private provider is as willing to engage with me as First has been. We all know that private providers have to cut routes that are not profitable or subsidised, or if they go bankrupt, even if those routes are essential to vulnerable communities. That's why we need the long-term solution. Our region, Yorkshire, West Yorkshire, is very fortunate to have Mayor Tracy Braben, who has put public transport at the heart of her mission to change how we get around our region. I very much welcome the news that the franchising system will be introduced in West Yorkshire in 2027. That date cannot come soon enough. It will give direct control over the bus companies and over the bus routes so that we can finally put people before profit when it comes to our public transport system. Now, Mayor Braben's work closely aligns with this government's strong commitment to fixing the broken bus networks across our country. The new buses bill will end the postcode lottery of bus services and deliver the biggest overhaul to our bus system in 40 years. And while this news is greeted by my constituents in Leeds South West and Morley, it is imperative that we can continue to ensure that the buses remain sustainable now. That's why I also welcome the £1 billion of investment recently announced by the government on bus funding. This includes the £36 million that we'll be getting for West Yorkshire, and it's helped us to extend the price cap to £2.50, all throughout 2025, and it secured routes like the 212 that I talked about. And I would just suggest to the members opposite, and I do respect a lot of the points that they are making today, that the bus cap was going to be abolished. The bus fare cap was going to be abolished next year, and it was because of the actions of this government that a new cap has been introduced. Yes, it is higher, but it is a cap nonetheless, so that we can keep those exponential fare rises down. Now, I do predict that in Leeds, returning to Leeds, that the next 2 years are of vital importance to our bus network. As we build towards franchising in 2027, we must sustain a good level of service until that day and use every tool in our arsenal to do so. So I urge my constituents to continue to contact me with problems related to the bus network in Leeds South West and Morley. I will work with the councillors of every party in my constituency and the West Yorkshire Combined Authority to deal with problems that we are encountering before franchising. And I'd also ask the Minister today, who is one of my neighbours, who's now heard me set out all of the arguments and all of the problems in my constituency and some of the solutions as well, I ask him if I'm missing anything else that I can use to help me and to help my constituents in the build-up towards franchising in 2027, should problems arise before that date. To conclude, Madam Deputy Speaker, we cannot understate the significance of effective public transport. Communities in Leeds South West and Morley rely upon it. I can tell them that we are genuinely getting on with the job of fixing our bus networks. It's time that my constituents have access to the public transport that they deserve. Yeah.